G'day, Alistair here. In this video, we're going to take a look at the air still from Still Spirits. So this requires no water, which is excellent. So I'm in my study rather than in the kitchen. So that makes a bit of a change. And what we're going to do is we're going to distill some wine. Now this is wine I made, so this is September 2024, which was when it was bottled. So it would have been, from made in January 2024, something like that, December 2023. So I have got, I'll need about 4 litres of it for this. I can fill in, put a little bit more in, but let's bring the camera down, get a little bit closer and have a look at what the air still is. So basically this is a pot still. I've unplugged the top and you'll be able to see there's quite a big fan in the top, and if we look on the side we've got coils. So basically the pot, let's take that, this little extension. So this has an element in it and it boils the wash or mash or whatever we've got in there, and it condenses it in here by using the cooling fan. And it works pretty well. Okay, let me attach that on there. And here we have a little reset button, so if it gets overheats or something like that, never had to use it. Maybe, if you boil it dry or something like that, you might need to reset it. And we have power in and the power for the fan, which is going to be a lot less than 50 watts. And a rocker on-off switch, and that is it. There's not even an on light on this one. So this is the air still. There is also an air still pro, which is a reflux still, and I think that has an LED on it, so much more sophisticated. So basically what we're going to do, I'll turn this off. It is off. We plug it in, and I'm going to take this wine and pour it in. Now this wine it's drinkable, but I've got better wine that I've made, so I am just going to distill this. And when you distill wine you get brandy. Now I think this fits 4 litres. I'll make a note of that somewhere on screen, what the exact volume it fits. And there is a fill line, you might be able to read it here, which indicates how much you can put in. Now I've been known to go a bit beyond that because, I want to maximize the volume that I'm distilling. That smells pretty good actually. The wine's quite sweet, so it's quite a lot of residual sugar in it, and I made it using brown sugar. I'll pour this a little more slowly so they don't splatter stuff everywhere. Now I don't know if I'm being a little bit overconfident doing it in here. I do have a habit of leaving it and walking away and things overflowing, but we'll see how we go. So that is 4 750ml bottles so far, so we've got 3 litres in there. And these are both 500, so that should take us to exactly 4 litres. And if I look at that fill line, which is just below, or maybe it's on the full, but you do need to leave some capacity in the top because there'll be some bubbling and stuff that goes on, and we don't want that to bubble into the condenser. Okay, so potentially I could add a little bit more, but I'm not going to. And I've spilt a little bit of wine on the desk, which I'll wipe up. The other thing I have got is this here. This is distilling conditioner. This is basically silicone, and I'm just going to put a tiny amount in the top. In fact, not even a capful, maybe half a capful. And set this on top. It'll line up the power point. I'm just going to turn this sideways and turn it on. And it is now going. And that's going to take about half an hour, I think, to heat up. So I'm just going to put that under there for now to capture our foreshots, and we can now leave that for, yeah, I think about half an hour. And you can see the fan spinning in there, and it's putting out quite a bit of air. So it's sucking it in the sides and out the top, which is a sensible way of doing it because heat rises anyway. And if it was going down, it'd be blowing, you know, anything you have on your desk would get blown away. So we'll come back. So here we have our first drips coming off, and it's collecting in here. And this is our foreshots. This is going to taste quite horrible. I can actually taste it. Yep, it's very solventy. Not the best tasting. So that's containing acetone and methanol and all sorts of other horrible stuff. It is still mostly ethanol and water, but yeah, small amounts of those other chemicals. And I will be discarding it. I'll probably collect about 25 mils, 50 mils, something like that. And yeah, I'll be discarding that. And we are about 1 hour and 19 minutes into the distillation process. So I said about half an hour. That was very inaccurate then. Normally I generally don't worry too much about the time. I just keep an eye on the still. So that's all good. And we'll come back shortly and discard that. And then start collecting our heads. So we've collected about probably 30 mils. Let's swap that out. Let's get a closer look at that. Yeah, 35 mils, something like that. And I'm just going to discard that Hello Cat into the foreshots jar. And we are now collecting some heads. I'm not going to be too particular about the exact quality. You know, the cut-offs between heads and tails and hearts. This is more of a stripping run, and we'll do a spirit run. I'll combine together a couple of other runs of the still to do a spirit run and get, you know, very, very clean delineation between the heads, hearts and tails, and only keep the hearts, and we'll be redistilling the hearts and tails at a later date. And now we just want to keep collecting. Okay, we're about an hour and a half in, and that is our first 100 mils. And I'm just going to swap this out. And put that there, and I'll line up a row of our various cuts, and we'll make some decisions about heads and tails and what we're keeping as hearts. But for now, I'm just going to collect this, and this is doing a nice drip, drip, drip spurt, as would expect. The can't quite tell how it's coming off initially because we've got this to make sure it drips straight down, and the side is quite warm. It's an insulated boiler, so it doesn't get too hot on the outside, unlike my plastic one, which gets pretty hot, too hot to touch. So we'll just continue collecting at this stage, and I'll probably do it in about 100 mil cuts or so. I'll probably get 700 mils or something like that off. I'm not sure. We'll find out. We are into our second cut. That is another 100 mils. We're about an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 42 minutes into our distillation. Okay, swap over to the next. It's our third lot of 100 mils, and that's still going, and the taste, it tastes alright. It's a bit bitey, but we'll see how how that improves. Although we're probably well into, now that we've collected 300 mils, we should be well into our hearts. Here is another cut. So that is now 400 mils that we have collected, plus the 35 mils of foreshots. Here we are at 2 hours and 12 minutes. And we have now collected 500 mils. And we'll keep going. There is still a bit of alcohol in that, although that is tasting perhaps a little bit tailsy, but we'll see. Okay, we are at the 2 hours and 23 minutes mark, and that's another 100 mils. If I bring the camera over, we can see that we've got 6. So we've collected 600 mils so far. I am just going to start measuring the alcohol by alcohol content of these. So I'm just going to pour about 40 mils into here, and then stick the hydrometer in, or proof and trail hydrometer, and we'll get a reading. And this first one is about 68%. I can zoom in on that. You can see that. Just turn this around slightly. Here we go. So there's our 60, 65, and looks like we're about 2 below the 70, so it makes us 68%. So we're about 2 hours and 35 minutes in, and I'm just going to turn that one over. It's our last collection vessel. Hopefully that's not going to splatter too much. I'm going to put that in as number 7. So we've collected 700 mils. So this is our 8th collection vessel, and that down there, I think it's going to be too tall to sit. Yep, on that. I'll have to find something else, but we'll just leave that collecting and swing the camera over. And so I've been measuring these out. We started at 68% for our first 100 mils, and then 66, 64, 62, so that's a 2% drop each time, and then down to 58, 55, and then 50, and this is going to be something below 50. So let's check it out. And so that looks like about 45. Yep. So number 8, I'm going to label 45. And I'm going to keep collecting, although the taste of this I think we are now into tails, so I might just get rid of this, the first one or two, maybe just this first one, because I'll be rerunning it again. Call that our heads, and maybe probably not keep that. It's yeah, that's tasting quite tailsy as well. So 3, 4, 5. So maybe get half a litre of something around 60% ABV. So I think we'll just wait. In fact, what I'll do is bring up my heads jar. So this is for redistillation later. I'm going to take the number 1 and pour that back in. So that, I've got another one of these that's full, and I'll be redistilling these. And because these are really high ABV, so this is, considering I've been doing it mostly from the reflux still, it's more than 80% probably. And while we're at it, I can reuse this one. And that'll be our number 9. Okay, this is number 9. So that's 900 mils, and I'll just measure the alcohol content of that, and make a determination as to, I can leave that in there, whether we shall keep collecting or not, because this is probably getting close to the end. Okay. Oh, it's at 40%, maybe 39%. The markings are getting pretty close together at this point, so I'm going to say that that's 39%. Pen. So it is probably still worth collecting, but only for redistilling. So what I'm going to do, this is my tails container. So I'm going to take that, pour that one in there. When I say it's my tails container, I have several, I have several of them, so let's pour that one in there. And we can make a new label for 10. Okay, we are about 3 hours and 29 minutes in. And if I zoom out, I will call it and say we're done. So that's a lot more peaceful and quiet without that fan going. I can still hear it boiling inside. And let's measure that last bit of tails. Oops, and I finally just spilt some. I'm going to read that is sitting about 28%. And taste-wise, not too bad. I must say, I have, as it gets towards the end, the taste seems to improve somewhat, I think. No, I can taste tails in that. But, I could have collected a little bit more, got down to about 20% or something like that. Because, I can redistill and clean up these tails. But yeah, we'll stop there. So, summary time, and who doesn't like spreadsheets? So here is our collection. So it took us an hour and 18 minutes, say hour and 20 minutes to get our first few drips. After an hour and 23 minutes, so another 5 minutes, we'd collected 35 mils of foreshots, which we have effectively discarded. the total time, start to finish, from turning on the power button, flicking the power on to flicking it off, was 3.5 hours. And we collected 1.1 litres in total. But this is the stuff that I've collected as hearts, and I possibly could have been a bit more generous, maybe including that one, because I'm going to be redistilling it. But if I redistill that, this should come out pretty clean without, if I take heads and tails off again, it should, be pretty clean tasting and hopefully flavorful from the original wine, but we'll find that out later. So, who doesn't like some AI-generated graphs? This one, not very interesting. It basically started to take longer and longer to get the alcohol. Each 100 mils takes a little bit longer to collect because the boiling point is slightly higher. As the alcohol is boiled off, you're left with more water and other things which bring the boiling point of the wash down. This is a nice linear graph, more or less. I think it curves up slightly, but it's pretty good. So after the first 5,000 seconds, which is an hour and 20 minutes roughly, we basically collect 100 mils every 10 or 12 minutes. And it was reasonably regular. Except we are collecting less and less alcohol each time. So we started out at 68% and gradually moved down until we gave up, and we were collecting at 28%. Well, that's an average of 28% over the last 100 mils, so it would have been less than that. And it drops off, this curves down and then drops off quite precipitously, so that we'd be collecting mostly water at some point. Okay, so that's the data. So if you're running air still, you need to budget about 3.5 hours, a bit of setup time, a bit of tidying up, so maybe 4.5 hours, depending on how much time you need to spend tidying up after yourself, how much you've spilt, that kind of thing. And in this case, I collected about 600 mils, and to refer to my book, I think it was 58% average. Yeah, 58% average over this 600 mils. So I've put that into a wine bottle for now, and I will redistill that with some other stuff I have previously distilled. And I'll be taking more heads and tails off, and so end up with even less less total, but much better tasting, of course. And I'm still reasonably new to distilling and sort of working things out, so this has worked out pretty good. I do have an interesting video which I can show regarding, if I play this. Okay, that's not going to play while Camtasia is running, but basically, as I'm pouring in, you can see there's a difference in gravity between what's in my tails container and the tails I'm pouring in, and I think that's the fusel alcohols. So I'll load that up in Camtasia and show you that. And that was pretty cool. I will probably make a separate video on that at some point, because I have some other B-roll regarding that. So I hope you found this interesting. I'll do a proper review of the air still at some point. I think it's a pretty brilliant device. It's a single button distillery. Of course, you lose a lot of flexibility, and often you want to be able to vary the power you're putting in and the rate at which you're taking off, condensing the alcohol. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I will see you in a future one. Possibly I'll be doing the air still review next. So I'll see you then.
Thank you.